Thank you, Valentina. Good morning, everybody. I'm pleased to be part of this session where I will walk you through practical tips on access and beneficiary compliance. As you already know, ABS originates from conventional on biological diversity and is further elaborated in the Nagoya Protocol. And as researcher, we are the user of genetic resources and associated traditional knowledge coming from provider countries that are fundamentals for our research. But as Valentina explained we have to follow legal obligation to respect sovereignty, local communities, and biodiversity. In the next 2 minutes, I will show you the essential step researchers must take to ensure that your work align with the legal and ethical standard when working with respect with genetic resource and also associated traditional knowledge. Okay, first of all, as microbiome researcher, ABS compliance become necessary whenever we are currently engaged in or we are planning to conduct both basic or applied research involving biological materials or, when is relevant, also associated traditional knowledge. And as a second step, the materials that we are interested in comes from a country where the access measures are in place. Be careful because this applies not only when we collect biological samples or conducting laboratory experiments, but also when we draft research proposals that include the use of genetic resources or traditional knowledge. And in the last year, international funding calls required detailed strategies for ABS compliance and sampling permission. These elements must be clear, outlined, and integrated in your research proposal, in the body of the project, rather than just brief mention as we have done in the last year. So be very careful not only when you want to take samples for research, but also when you are drafting some projects. So the first step is to get information. So we have to understand if the materials, the biological material we are interested in, comes from a country where ABS laws is present. In particular, what we have to do is to check if the country is within ABS law. To have this information, you need to check the website of ABS Clearinghouse, and here you can see there's also the website that you can find inside the website of Conventional on Biodiversity, Convention of Biological Diversity website. It's very easy to understand if a country is part or not of the Nagoya because you have a map and the country part of the Nagoya is colored in red. You can click on the country of interest on the map and a specific web page will open dedicated exactly to that country. In this case, for example, I give you the example of Belgium. And you can see the page a little bit enlarged. You can check now the section under legislative, administrative, or policy measures to understand the national requirements. You will find regulation, decrees, which may provide additional that will describe and what you have to follow, describe the requirements and that you must follow. Even if no specific measurements are listed in this section, you can consult also the other section, the last one in red circle, that is interim national reports, which may provide some additional guidance for you. In some cases, a country may be part to the Nagoya Protocol, but has not yet fully implemented its national ABS legislation, or, for example, it may have ratified such laws, but is still in the process to establish the necessary administrative procedures. For this reason, you have to check all this section and understand in which phase the country is in that moment. And here is, for example, the page, the Legislative Administrative Policy Measures page, in which you can see is again in Belgium a royal decree in which all the information for apply for ABS are explained. Then, to have additional information, for example, if no complete information are found in these two sections or no clear guidance show up, you can also try to contact these two institutions that are the competent national authority and the national focal point. You can find all the emails, telephone number, name of the person in charge of these two institutions in the specific page in the section of ABS National Focal Point and Competent National Authority. And these two institutions can, for example, give you accurate and current information on the process, if the process is in act or at which stage the process is in that specific country. Again, when national competent authority and national focal point don't respond and you cannot have any information, don't stop there. Because it's very important to get information and to show that you have done all the reasonable efforts to obtain information before starting your sampling. So other possibilities, for example, to tap into online material to support your ABS research. So looking in the network, online, you can, for example, seek partnership with local collaborators. So you can find researchers in the country of interest to help you to get information and to get in contact with national focal point or national competent authority. This collaboration in some cases, in some countries, is mandatory for ABS compliance. So this is a very good step to do. You can also seek advice from colleagues who are prior experience working in that specific country, so can give you some advice. Or sometimes you can also contact the ABS national focal point of your own country that, for example, can have a privileged communication with the other national focal points around the world. Don't forget that you must demonstrate that you have made every reasonable effort to comply with ABS, and so you have fulfilled due diligence requirements. After get information and understand if the country that you are interested in, the materials coming from the country that you're interested in is part of ABS, of the Nagoya Protocol, the second step is to understand if you must apply and verify if the national ABS laws are applicable to you, to your research. And you can you can ask yourself the following question: if the type of materials you have sampled or you plan to sample is subjected to ABS law, or because they are considering different ABS law in different countries, the materials can be under the laws or not. If the intended use of the materials that you want to do fall under ABS laws, or again, there are some kind of action that are possible without getting permission and some others that are not possible. for example, sequencing, for example, taxonomy, sometimes it's not part of ABS law. And also you have to check if the materials samples is going to be samples within the period governed by ABS law. Nagoya Protocol is from 2014, but it's possible that the country that you are interested in starting with all the procedures after, I don't know, it's still not action, or after a specific year. If you can answer no to all these questions, you can samples without permission under Nagoya Protocol, but check and be careful, because you have to check if other national laws exist in that country. For example, there are some laws associated to national park, like in the USA or other countries, or other kinds of laws exist that protect genetic resource. If, on the other hand, your material is part of the ABS law, you have to go on with the procedures. And to go on with the procedures, you have to apply for the permission. And the national competent authority, it will be the institution that will give you the specific permission. Again, be very careful, because every country has their own procedures and their own rules. So, depending on the country, you can be required to subscribe or to obtain the following documents, like the prior informed consent, the mutually agreed terms, internationally recognized certificate of compliance, material transfer agreements. Depending on the type of documents, we are talking about a specific agreement or a permission that the national competent authority provides to the researcher. But in any case, this document can be asked or not, depending on the country. In some country, for example, you can be asked only to make a declaration or a self-declaration or formal statements that should be submitted to the national competent authority via online platforms, and so everything is very easy, but depends on the country, so it can be more complex or easier. When additional information associated to this is, for example, to don't forget that ABS is applied to genetic materials, but involve also associated traditional knowledge. So don't forget this. Again, in some Nagoya Protocol countries, ABS law were in place before 2014, and in some non-parties to the Nagoya Protocol, there are specific ABS laws that are in place that are different from Nagoya. So you have to check carefully all the laws present in that country. Then you have to carefully review the terms outlined in the PIC and MAT, that are the documents that I showed you a few seconds ago, to ensure that the compliance with the requirements were followed during your research. So if you have signed an agreement in which you declare what you are going to do with your genetic resource, you must follow that requirement, and you don't have to forget what you have signed. So it's very, very important. For example, it's an easy requirement to acknowledge the country of origin and include the applicable IRCC or permit number in the publication. Then keep all the permits and all the relevant ABS documents, along also with the correspondence with the national focal point and national competent authorities, as evidence of your ABS due diligence, evidence that you have look for information and you have follow what ABS in that country asks. And if you are, for example, you are now hold material and you realize just in this moment that you didn't have the necessary permission, you can try to contact the national focal point, national competent authorities of that country to request remedial action or amendments. and in order to be in line with the specific rules. Ensure in that case, be careful and ensure to show up a proper management of the genetic resource at all times in order to get the permission also if after getting the materials. Some additional takeaways, some advice for you. For example, during the negotiation with national competent authority, be always very precise in your request for permission and underline what exactly in very detailing description what you want to do with that genetic resource. Everything should be very clear, written, and all the documents should be comprehensively covers all the aspects of your research. And if you regularly conduct research with a specific country, you can consider the possibility to negotiate it with the authorities of that country to establish an authorization process that can be simplified. So, and this can happen in some research that is quite long, so it lasts some years. Establish partnership with local collaborators in the provided country, because it can help a lot to identify requirements, procedures, and as I told you a few minutes ago, this may be mandatory in some countries. Build and maintain your own reference database because it can help you also in the future. Sometimes it's also very interesting to create a database associated to ABS regulation or policy, also with some colleagues, for example, a cluster or infrastructure that work in your same field. It can be very interesting to have a reference database that can be consulted during the year. And for your specific institution, it's very important to appoint a dedicated person within your institution that will manage all the ABS related matters, and also to find officially the authority to sign the application and contract. Because, for example, in some university, in some institution, you will never know if the person that are in charge to sign is the rector or the director of the department, and so on. So look very careful who has the authority to sign. And then last tips, implement continuous training within your team, within your institution, to always stay updated on ABS regulation and procedures that change every 5 minutes, we can say. So I think it's okay. Thank you for your attention.